Hello, everybody, and welcome to our weekly career huddle. We're going to kick off here in a few minutes after we get some folks on. So we'll give just a minute or two for folks to get on, and we'll get rolling here shortly with our weekly career huddle. If you're here, just say hi in the comments down below. So hit that comments box down below and just say hello. Maybe say your name and where you're from. So I see Monica, the chemist, on, so I know your name's Monica, and Creation. So down in the chat, down below, just share what your name is and where you're joining from. Hey, Chris. I see. Hey, Rob. How are you doing? I'm Techne. So down in the comment box below. Hey, everybody. So just introduce yourself down below and just share from today, and we'll get started shortly. This is going to be our weekly career huddle, so it's good to see everybody. I'm going to be joined by Carson. Hey, Carson, how are you doing?
Hey, everyone.
So I see Cindy from Kenya joining. Hey, Cindy, how are you doing? Down in the chat below, just give us a little wave, introduce yourself, and share where you're joining from. And I'm going to share my cell phone number on this chat, and I'm going to pin that comment as well. The chats in these sessions, hey, Lena from Pennsylvania, the chats in these sessions go by really, really fast. And so if you have a question, later on we're going to be doing, at the end of the session, some Q&A, some career Q&A. So if you have any questions about internships, about jobs, about careers in general, sales, marketing, data analytics, software engineering, product management, any of that, shoot me a text with that question, and then I'm going to pull it up on my iPad and make sure that we don't miss any of the questions. Hey, Nicole from Chicago. Hey, Monica from Tennessee. How's it going? Monica is one of our interns starting this week. Yeah. It's like with this pandemic, I feel like I don't even know what day it is. So I literally had to look at a calendar just now. I know it's before Halloween, and that's pretty much it. Hey, Shay from DC. So Carson, how's your day been so far?
Been pretty good. Nothing to complain about.
Yeah, good. So today, this week, we've been doing an entire series that's been called I Will. Has anybody been getting these text messages from me about I Will? So, one of the hardest things when you set a goal, any type of goal, when you set a habit that you want to start, is just literally getting started. I've had for almost a year now the goal of waking up earlier, just because I feel like I read about other people waking up earlier, like the idea of being productive in the morning, the idea of having some time away from screen time, like before I'm on a cell phone, before I'm on an iPad, before I'm staring at a screen, sounded really relaxing, but forever, it was just really hard to just literally take the first step. Waking up that first morning was the hardest thing. Carson, you've had a lot of goals that you've had this year. What's one thing where just taking the first step was difficult?
I at the beginning of the year, I stopped eating meat, and that was super difficult for myself. But I kept staying motivated with knowing the environmental impact of it. But it was so hard at first. But now it's kind of second nature. But it took reflecting back on it, it took a long time to kind of get to that point. And same thing with waking up early. Vincent, I feel you on that. I'm trying to do it as well. But there's some days that it feels like a setback when you sleep in. You almost feel guilty. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and Carson and I share calendars because we have a team calendar, and Carson, you literally have Orange Theory Fitness on your calendar at 5 a.m.
Yeah, that's the one motivation that I've been using to get myself up and going. But yeah, same with you and Peloton in the morning.
Same thing. So who's here to set some goals for themselves? Who wants to create a better habit, or who here has a goal that you want to accomplish over the next year? I know the two of us can't be the only ones that are working on something, but type in the chat down below, if you have a goal where you're thinking about taking the first step, type that down below, what you want to accomplish, and we'll call out some folks here in a little bit later. But so today's session is all about how to take that first steps. So I see Lena in the chat sharing me. Um, and so we're going to be spending some time on that. But before we talk about that, my name is Vincent Famban. I'm founder of Vyten, which is the Instagram channel that you're all watching. And I want Carson to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Carson. I'm the community marketing manager at Vyten.
So Carson, you graduated from college recently, right? And you're kind of transitioning into the real world, transitioning into a job after college. Talk to me about like how did that feel? Like how does that transition feeling and like how does it feel kind of knowing where you're going to be now?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the reason I always remember being, even before the pandemic, being stressed about the ability to find stability and kind of be settled, have a plan, because all the time I was surrounded by people who were like, oh, already going to do this after school. Like I already have this set. And then realizing the people who talked about it were the ones who already had their things all in line and together. And so it kind of made me feel like I was by myself not knowing. And so I think the most pressing matter that I felt, especially towards the end of my undergrad, was that um, how am I going to set up a life for myself? What steps do I take to get there? What classes do I take? Should I have done things differently? And so that was kind of top of mind, because I was literally in the mindset at one point where I would do any job, which is not somewhere you want to be. You want to find something that actually gives you purpose and aligns with your passions. And the willingness to settle was kind of something that frightened me a little bit, because it made me realize that I would do anything to get that stability. But I think a lot of people are also, especially in college, a lot of people are in that same mindset. And so I think addressing that, first off, you're not alone in that if you don't really know what you want to do with the rest of your life. But yeah, so that was kind of my feelings.
Yeah, totally. That resonates with me. And I'm looking in the chat right now. Priya says, my goal is to complete my bachelor's degree and find a job. Queen says, me too. Current goal is to work at Vyten. My goal is to get a job in what I studied in school. And, it's pretty common. And uncertainty is probably the hardest part about going through that journey, is just like not knowing what the future is going to look like. And I know I felt that way too, over the course of the over 10 years where I was working at different companies, different careers. I spent time in sales, I spent time in marketing, I spent time, working on data, software engineering, like all of these different places. But there have been like steps throughout my career where just that uncertainty and not knowing and not having that, exactly what you said, the stability of knowing where you're going to be going, and that aligns up with where you want to go, is a journey for sure. I see my goal is to wake up earlier in the day, me too, and to get my real estate license. I think that's awesome. It's just hard because I've 5 other courses that I want to complete. And uh, that was something too, that when I graduated from college, I did take a move that I think to a lot of other people looked like settling. I went to what I thought was a good university, and I ended up working a retail job after that. It was in 2009 when I graduated, and I took an hourly role doing customer service, working at a Best Buy. And that was actually worse than the job that I actually had in high school. So in high school, I was a supervisor at Best Buy, and I literally like took steps backwards because I graduated during a pandemic. And the challenge that I had at the time was the job market was just really, really competitive. There were a lot of really talented people looking for, a number of jobs, and it's not dissimilar from kind of what we're seeing in the job market right now. Carson, I mean, you have friends that are juniors, seniors, and like recent grads, class of 2020. Talk to me a little bit about, what you've heard and seen in the job market.
Yeah, definitely. So I know somebody in the chat said they're a little overwhelmed with everything, and that's kind of been a theme amongst college grads, recent grads, because it's so overwhelming. I feel like a lot of people don't know how to act when your job search becomes so prolonged. And so I think that is like the threshold. People are like, okay, do I just do a job that is in a field that I didn't even go to school for.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's kind of been the conversation, as well as like at what point do you kind of just stop trying as much or just like completely switch what you want to do.
Hmm.
And so I think, and also that the methodology of getting a job now has changed so much then from before because everything is virtual. And so I think there's been a lot of challenges in adapting. And so I think that's really top of mind for a lot of people.
Yeah, totally. Hey, Jason. Hey, Gianna. If you guys are just joining us, this is our weekly career huddle. We're talking about how do you take the first step? How do you build experience? And how do you use that experience, that real work experience, to be able to turn into accomplishments, to be able to grab an incredible job? Carson, I think that's so true what you're talking about. And I think one of the things that when I look back and I looked at other people who are graduating around the same time as me, there were people that landed incredible jobs. And one of them I recently had on our podcast, literally graduated about the same time as me, went to the same university, and I went into an hourly retail job, and she went into a really great job. And it was Chantel Bonneau, who it's on the How I Got Here podcast. There's a link to that podcast on our Instagram bio if you want to listen to that podcast. And, it was a really interesting conversation because 10 years later, we both had really successful careers. 10 years later, Chantel she's been featured in Forbes. She was nominated by the Los Angeles Business Journal as a top woman in business. And same thing for me. My work has been in Forbes recently. The Business Journal named me a 40 under 40. And we both took very different paths. But I got to say, she took a much, much better path straight out of college than I did. And there were just a lot of mistakes. To your point, the job search process is changing really, really rapidly. And there were a lot of mistakes that I made where she took a much better path. So there's definitely things that you can do. There's definitely things that she did that really set her apart and set her off on a different trajectory where it felt like it took me a little bit of time to be able to catch up to her. And so those are all the things that we're going to be talking about during this session. Those baby steps and taking the first step is so important. One of the things that I feel like is like ironic is I was looking at a job posting the other day for an internship at Google, an internship at Facebook, and their internships actually require work experience. You have to have like 2 years of work experience to be able to apply for the internship at Google, which is kind of crazy, right? That's the whole point of an internship, is to be able to get work experience, but now you have to have work experience even to apply for some of the highest profile internships. So the question ends up being, how do you build those skills? How do you get started in building those skills? And Carson, you have a background, right, where one of the ways that you landed a job right away out of college was because you had the right experiences on your LinkedIn profile and on your resume. And so talk to me about, early on in college, like how did you think about trying to get that experience?
Yeah, so I think experience is something that's another thing that I should have mentioned earlier that everyone is talking about and striving to get. So my freshman year, my roommate was super like motivated, driven, kind of knew all of the right resources. And she was like, okay, I'm getting a job. And I was like, we've been here for 2 months at school. Freshman year, like that's crazy. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed. I need to get an internship too. So I was like applying in the masses to all these internships in the LA area and had zero work experience before other than like babysitting. And so I think I ended up working at an event planning company, which isn't something that I want to pursue, but it was kind of the first available experience that I could qualify for. And that was taking an unpaid internship. But it ended up being a great like turning point to get the next internship after that, and then the one after that. But again, I think my biggest mistake was kind of just mass applying to so many and trying to find one that was like, okay, I kind of want to go into this area. But I think I also didn't really tap into the resources that my university provided. And so I think that kind of like addressing maybe getting started earlier and kind of the ways to get that experience would be beneficial for all college students.
Yeah, totally. And if you've just joined us, this is our weekly career huddle. We're talking about how to take the next move in your career, how to take the first move in your career, how to determine the skills that are necessary to be able to get specific jobs in the future and start building your experiences there. My cell phone number is on the screen. If you have a question that you want us to answer, the chat moves really fast, so it's harder at the end of this session to scroll up and be able to see through all the questions. And so shoot me a text if you have any questions, any topics that you want us to cover, any specific areas that you want us to cover, and I'm happy to pull that up towards the end of this session. And Carson, the student organizations as well, like taking advantage of just different opportunities on campus, end up being huge. Like, what are some of the skills that you've gotten through different volunteer efforts, through even just student orgs?
Yeah, I think the most valuable thing to take away from your student organizations is building those relationships, and which are going to lead to networking. And so I was doing peer-to-peer and small scale networking before I even, that's what it was, conversations in that way, but also kind of realizing how you can formulate those experiences. So if you're a leader in a club, or if you were in charge of fundraising for an organization or an event, those are skills that you can put on your resume. And I think there's kind of a lag between how to put those on your resume / if you even should. And so Vincent, maybe you can talk a little bit more about that, how to translate those club experiences and things that you're interested in onto your resume.
Yeah, absolutely. If anybody else is wondering that, right, if you do all of these other things outside of school, and whether or not you should put that on your resume, on your LinkedIn profile, just type yes into the chat down below, because Carson, you're not the only one. Like, I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, one of the questions that I had was, I'm in these student organizations. One of them that I did was camp counselor for this thing called Unicamp, which is every single summer we took inner city kids up to the mountains, and it was a volunteer thing. And I was also in a fraternity in college, which that's one of the things where it's like, oh, do I put that on my resume because that might hurt me? And what do different people think about that? And so you see in the chat, so many of these other people have that exact same question of what should you do here. So I think the big thing is when you are going through those experiences, it's really important to be purposeful about building the experience and then showing transferable skills. Now, what I mean by that is, when we were having these meetings to be able to prepare, to be able to bring students up to the mountains, I mean, we literally had 100 students with 100 to 200 parents that we had to work with. And that takes a lot of organization. Well, the funny thing, and not a surprise, is that employers, when they're hiring somebody, they want people who are organized. And so being able to show how you've been able to manage large events, or being able to show how you've done fundraising, or being able to show how you've launched a new website for a student org, ends up being really transferable skills into the workplace as well. Or you can build your own personal website, right? And so that's one of the things that's been really awesome about our internship program, where literally everybody who's participating in the Vyten internship program, as part of the internship program, is actually launching a personal website. And we're doing that on WordPress because literally millions of businesses use WordPress to be able to power their business websites too, which is something that I didn't know about WordPress before I worked in marketing full time, is that WordPress is used by people to create like blogs, like personal blogs, travel blogs, whatever. But literally some of the largest companies in the world also use WordPress to be able to power their website. And, it's a different infrastructure that they have, but it's still the same skills and the skill on the same system. So I see a comment in the chat. I'm a college freshman wondering if I should include high school experiences on my resume or my LinkedIn profile. We're in a pandemic, so it's not like I can do anything new. And, the tough thing there is, I would say in a pandemic, it actually becomes easier to do a bunch of new things. And the reason is because you can do them remotely. And it used to be in the past that you were limited by the opportunities in your city, right? So I live in Nashville, and so oftentimes I was looking for things to do in the city that I lived in. Well, the city that you live in, yeah, if you live in LA, if you live in New York, if you live in San Francisco, there might be a lot of things to do. But if you live in a smaller city, that's really limiting. And what's really changed about the pandemic is that all of those opportunities that were available in all of those larger cities are now available as remote opportunities. And so I think it can be really easy during a pandemic to say, hey, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm just going to put this on pause, right? I'm going to put this on pause right now because it's really hard to be able to add new things and to do new things. And I think the opposite is actually true, to be honest. I think it's more acceptable to be able to do things at home now than it used to be, more acceptable to do things on your own schedule now than it used to be. And so there actually are people out there who are hitting play on their life. And so while the rest of the world is hitting pause, on concerts, on movies, man, I don't even remember what a movie theater looks like anymore. You can hit play. And, the Vyten internship is actually one perfect example of that. I know we have a lot of our interns that are on this weekly huddle this week. Give us a wave if that's you. It's awesome to be able to have you guys here. And if you're not doing anything right now, you can. Internships are literally virtual right now. If you want to apply for ours, you can go to vyten.com/intern. There's a link, I think, in the bio on our Instagram profile as well. But, it's definitely possible to be able to hit play.
And I feel like, again, those are the people who are taking the initiative during this time.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people who, once we've kind of gone back to normal life after this pandemic, those are the people who are going to be one step ahead that don't have that gap where they press pause in their career development. And those are the people who took those right steps to move forward, even through this time.
Yeah, I see Brenda in the chat waving. I see Queen in the chat waving, part of our intern crew. Love you guys. And the reality of it is that it used to be, so I was a recruiter in the past. I worked on a recruiting team for a Fortune 100 company, and when I was doing that, on average, every single job that was open, we had about 250 applicants for every single job. And then of those 250 people, about 20 get an interview out of the 250. And then just one person's going to get that job. About 4 or 5 people do an interview with the hiring manager, and then the hiring manager picks one person. Well, the challenge is that the people who are creating skills, creating experiences for themselves are the people that stand out, and are the people that are more likely to get those interviews, are the people that are going to end up getting hired. And, maybe during normal times when there's a lot of jobs available, it's like a supply and demand thing, right? So for anybody who's taken an econ class, you got jobs on one side, you have job seekers on the other side. Well, if you have a lot more jobs and not enough job seekers, then all those job seekers are going to be able to find a job. In a pandemic, you have less jobs and you have more job seekers. And so it ends up being a more competitive environment. And so you have to be above average to be able to get a decent job. And being above average means putting in above average effort. And by creating these experiences, by doing things like internships, by doing things like starting your own blog, starting your own YouTube channel, starting your own Shopify store, starting your own WordPress site. These are the types of things that really make people stand out.
And it's not only being able to have those experiences, but also translate them onto your resume and talk about them in an interview, and kind of learning how to do so is going to set you even further ahead.
Yeah. And so, who here, for those of you who have joined us, I know our interns are definitely going to fall into this category because they're doing an internship right now during a pandemic. But who here is going to put in that above average work and create your own future? Type me into the chat down below, or type, I'm ready to go in the chat down below, because that's really, you don't have to sit passively. You can literally create these experiences. And so instead of, whether you're applying for a marketing role, whether you're applying for, I see Monica in the chat, she's ready to go, Queen as well. Neha in the chat, I love this. you can create your own destiny, right? So when you take a look at entry level marketing jobs that say requires 1 year of marketing experience, requires 2 years of marketing experience, that marketing experience can be through a volunteer internship. That marketing experience can be picking a local nonprofit that you want to do. Or like if you take a look at, now I know End Creation Designs, is it Nicole? Am I remembering right? Like Nicole's
Yeah, I think so.
literally creating her own thing. And the thing that I love about that is that you don't have to interview to do that. Nobody else has to hire you to do that. You can literally choose to do it and then launch your own Etsy store or whatever. Well, guess what? Selling stuff on Etsy, that's real work experience for a real business. And that's how you end up creating these. And if you're in college right now, leadership experience on student organizations, you can use that too. If you don't think you can get elected, guess what? You can start your own student organization. Like nobody has to elect you for you to be able to start your own club and then go invite 10, 20 other people to come join you in your new organization around something that you're passionate about. And so love the energy that we have here. I see End Creation Designs says ready to go. I'm so stoked to be around people who want to press play on life. I love that. I absolutely love that. And we weren't planning on talking about this, but you're exactly right. You want to surround yourself with other people who inspire you. You want to surround yourself around other people who are hitting play on life, because that's going to motivate you to be able to do the same, and it's going to hold you accountable to doing the same as well. And I forget who said this or who the quote is from, but there's a quote out there that's like, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. And the truth of the matter is, if you spend your time around 5 people who are just complaining all the time, 5 people that are just making excuses all the time, like, what are you going to do? It's really easy to fall into that trap of doing what everybody else around you is doing. But if you're surrounding yourself with 5 people who are driven, chances are that's going to motivate you and drive you as well. And guess what? Later on, if you're surrounding yourself, if you're a sophomore right now, where are my freshman sophomore at? Anybody on here with that class 2024, 2023? Anybody on? Guess what? If you surround yourself around people who are motivated and graduating this year, graduated last year, in a few years from now, they're going to be working at great companies, and they're going to be able to get you an introduction and be able to get you an interview at those companies. And so I love that. Just saying, I'm stoked to be around people who want to press play on life. I couldn't agree with that more. I see Brenda in the chat, freshman here. There's a
And then
perfect time.
Vincent,
Yeah.
another thing that we might want to touch upon is the question of, okay, it's a pandemic, we can't physically surround ourselves with these kinds of people, so what are some other ways to do that? How do you get maybe a network or an organization or people who have the life that you want or are taking those steps that you can immerse yourself into?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the reality of it is we're doing it right here. Like, we're on Instagram, right? We have 2 cell phones, and we're literally chatting and meeting with a bunch of folks here. Take advantage of these virtual opportunities. For our interns, we have something that's called Intern HQ. And so it's literally a web page with a discussion board. It's a private discussion board for only our interns. And the truth of the matter is that the people who apply for our internship program are people who are really driven. And so we created a place for people to get together, to be able to exchange, get connected on LinkedIn with each other. And even on here in the chat, if you're open to meeting with other people that are driven, just throw a little hand wave emoji in here. And then after that, go follow these other people that are on this Instagram session. And if you can grab coffee anytime. And so, just connect with folks that are on this live. So I just see right there, hand wave in here. So if you want to connect with other people that are driven, that are pressing play on their life, creating their own destiny, creating an awesome career for themselves in the future. Here's the hand waves right here. And so, follow any, after this, go in, check out everybody who waved to their hand, follow them on Instagram, and honestly, just FaceTime.
Mm-hmm. And
So
then Vincent, going back to the earlier discussion of what are our goals, I think yes, we can set all of these goals for ourselves, but in the end, it's holding yourself accountable.
yeah,
And so we can touch upon how creating a group of people and being involved with motivated people, it's also a way for you to hold not only yourself accountable, but have others hold you accountable and you do the same for them.
totally, totally. And so, I have a group of other business owners that I meet with every 2 weeks. And every 2 weeks, we just jump on a Zoom. It's the same time. It's like Friday afternoon every other week. And we just go through like what's going well with our businesses. What are the areas where we're having challenges? Like, what are we trying to learn? And we help each other out. And the reality of it is, that's how you build patterns, and like that's how you build habits. And in the past, some of the best like streaks that I've ever been on, and like streak, I'm just saying like when I'm in a good habit, I'm doing something either every day or every week. But in the past, like my best fitness streaks are when I have a friend that I'm working out with. And, it's those mornings where I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to go back to bed, but I got a text message. It's like, hey, I'm on my way. I'll meet you there. It's like, shoot, I got to go. The truth is in many things in life, that's the way it is. So, we have a program that we take applications for that's called Career Launchpad. And we weren't planning on going into this, but I think we should talk, since you brought it up, Carson, I think we should talk a little bit about the first two parts of the Vyten method. And so you guys all know already, our name is Vyten. And usually we go like super in depth on this in Career Launchpad. Actually, let me back up. Career Launchpad is basically our program for folks who are launching their careers. And so we have our internship that we have a bunch of interns in. Career Launchpad is a little bit of a different program. It's a longer program. It's a really in-depth program. And usually we go really, really deep here. But V stands for vision. And so V in Vyten stands for vision. And when we talk about vision, it's just talking about not necessarily like what job you want to be in, not even what job title you want to be, have, not, what it says on LinkedIn that you do, but it's really like, hey, I want to work for an organization where I'm helping to make the world a better place. And I want to work on a team that's really creative, and I want to live in this city. And so that's a vision, right? Because then you can sit down and you can say, yeah, I can imagine myself living in an apartment in Chicago, walk into work, and the type of company that I want to walk into, like I want it to be a really upbeat team, and that team needs to be going out and making a difference in the world. That's a different, much, much different vision than I want to be a social media manager, right? And you could be living that vision as a social media manager. You could be living that vision as a software engineer at that company. But that's really, if you want to live that life, it starts with being able to create that vision. The Y in Vyten, so that's V, the Y in Vyten stands for year. Year is really about what do you have to do in the next 12 months to be able to take a baby step towards that vision, right? Because when you take a look at things like becoming a doctor, becoming a lawyer, like those are multi-year things that you got to do. Like you got to study for the LSAT, you got to take the LSAT, you got to apply to law school, you got to get into law school, and then there's 3 years of law school. And so that can be really hard when you're trying to plan out 5 to 10 years. And so the why is just talking about, okay, next 12 months, what do I got to do? And it's breaking it down into a more bite-sized step. It's breaking it down into something that you can do this week, a baby step to move towards it. And I'm really scared because I signed up to run a marathon next year. Have I told you this, Carson? I don't know if I told you that. I signed up to run a marathon, and thank gosh for the pandemic. which I never thought I would say that. No, I shouldn't be thanking anybody for the pandemic because it's horrible. But the thing that it did do is it delayed my marathon until next year. Well, the baby step to running a marathon is running a mile. The baby step to running a mile is just doing a lap, right? Doing a quarter mile. The baby step to doing a quarter mile is just going out, putting on headphones, taking a walk, and listening to a podcast, right? The baby step is buying new running shoes, right? The baby step is just that. And so the why in Vyten for year is just talking about what are these baby steps to be able to accomplish this. And this morning I sent out a text that was about limiting beliefs. Is about like what are the mental barriers that stop you from being able to take those first baby steps? Because here's the reality of it: is like, am I going to finish this marathon? I don't know. I don't know, and that's a little bit scary. But do I have a chance of finishing it if I never take that first step? No. I have a 0% chance of success if I don't sign up for a marathon of ever completing a marathon. And so I'm in the same spot if I don't try. And that's the reality of being able to accomplish things is you have to be able to take those first steps. So Career Launchpad, we'll be talking a little bit more about that in future sessions, but I wanted to share just a little bit of this method because it relates to what you just brought up, Carson. The other thing, I'm just looking at my notes here on things that we're going to cover. For our interns, I know a lot of you guys waved earlier. It's awesome to be able to kick off this week. This week's our marketing rotation of our internship program. If you haven't applied, you're interested in interning at Vyten, there's a link in our profile or you are in our Instagram profile, or you can go to vyten.com/intern to apply. For our interns that are in this cohort right now, the secret passcode of the week is pineapple. And so in Google Classroom, there's going to be a quiz, and you'll get points for joining this session. Just select, there's a multiple choice test in there, quiz or whatever you want to call it, and just select pineapple, and then you'll get credit for joining this session. And then next week, I'm really excited. Our career huddle we're going to be doing is a weekly session. It's this same time, this same place, Instagram live. If you have questions in advance, you can text me. My number's pinned on this screen. But next week, we're going to be talking about defining moments. All of next week, we're going to be talking about defining moments. And that's really about building purpose in your life. You know, the thing is that all of the academic research, all of the studies show that making money isn't actually the thing that makes you happy. And that there's a loose correlation between the amount of money that you make and how happy you are in life. Now, like, does ice cream make me happy? Yeah, ice cream definitely makes me happy. Do you need money to buy ice cream? Yeah, totally. But all of the research shows that as soon as your basic needs are covered, basic needs are your house, the roof over your head, food that you're eating, right? All the things that are on the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy. As soon as those are covered, more money doesn't make you happier. And so the question is what does make you happier? And a lot of that has to do with building purpose in life. And so next week, we're going to be talking all about defining moments. That'll be on Instagram, Instagram Live. Follow us. It's 11 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock Central time, 2 o'clock Eastern time, same time, same place. On our Instagram profile, after you hit follow, if you hit that button again, it opens up a menu. You can hit notifications, and then after that, you can actually select to get a notification. And you'll want to select a notification for IGTV and lives, and that's how Instagram on your phone will just give you a notification anytime that we go live.
And then one other super exciting aspect of next week's live that I'm looking forward to is kind of talking more about how you get those defining moments to figure out what career you want to go into or what you want to do. And how to take those experiences and kind of steps towards that goal that we talked about today, and really find, okay, this is a job that gives me purpose, or is something that I would want to do for the rest of my life. But it's kind of how do you first get those experiences, and then if you like it or not, what are the next steps you take? So look forward to that for next week.
I think that's going to be an absolutely awesome session. I just got a text message from Neha, who's in California. Should all the interns post the internship on LinkedIn, and what should we post? Yeah, you're absolutely welcome to. If you want to share the internship that you're doing, if you want to share how to apply for the internship on LinkedIn, you can absolutely do that. We'll post some cut and paste language, like some swipe copy on Intern HQ that you can just cut and paste what we put on Intern HQ, and you can reshare that on LinkedIn. You can share it anywhere, LinkedIn, on Instagram. If you want to add Vyten Prep Intern onto your Instagram bio, I saw a few people have done that already because we get a notification if you tag our profile. So you're welcome to do that. You're welcome to add Vyten onto your LinkedIn as well. I've seen a couple people, if your internship starts in the future, usually you'll put incoming business intern. And if you're currently working on the internship with Vyten, then you remove the word incoming because you're not incoming anymore. But that can say, marketing intern, sales intern, data analyst intern. All of those are perfectly good. And if you're not sure, to Carson's point, if you're not sure what you want to do in the future, I would just put business intern, and it's all good. And then
in the chat, Vincent, earlier, I saw somebody ask about continuing using the network of interns. And so at one point I did want to make to the person that asked about kind of like the study group is, once you have access to Intern HQ, you have that forever. And so that's using that discussion board is going to be a way to talk with other interns and hold yourself accountable even months from when your internship started.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't turn off access for Intern HQ. And so all of our intern alum will continue to have access to our private community and to the discussion board as well. I mean, once you're a part of the family, you're going to have access to Intern HQ forever. Or I don't know, maybe in the future, like websites won't be a thing anymore and it'll be like virtual reality. I guess at that point you won't have access anymore. But yeah, I mean, we'll have it up for the foreseeable future. Second question that I got via text message. If you have a question, just text me on the phone number that's on the screen. Should the interns connect with each other on LinkedIn for networking? Yes, absolutely, 100%. If you're like, life is about networks. Connect with other people at your school, connect with other alumni who have graduated from your school, and definitely connect with the other interns that you're going through this experience
One
with
way to do that
as well.
is if you put your internship and Vyten on your LinkedIn profile, it'll show up as you're an employee there or like you work there, and then you can go to our page and see other people who are also interns, and then that's a super easy way to connect with everyone.
Yeah. And we get a lot of applications for this internship program. We promise that we'll review every single one of them. Unfortunately, we can't bring everybody into the program. I wish we could, but I'm so excited about all of the interns that have joined us. We've had a few applications even come in during this session. So just got one from Hannah. Hannah, I don't know if you're on. If you're on, just give me a little wave here. But Hannah just wrote, "My name's Hannah. I applied for the Vyten remote internship program. 18 years old, from Cypress, California," which, believe it or not, is where I grew up. My parents still live in Cypress today. Currently enrolled Cypress Community College. I totally took classes there while I was in high school. Looking for the marketing experience. That's definitely what this internship is about. And I'm excited to come up with ideas and strategies to contribute while keeping up good communications. I can bring not only my knowledge, but I'm excited to be able to help Vyten. A little bit of a tip here. We've had a lot of interns apply. If there's one thing that you take away from this intern or from this Instagram session, Kathy, I see your question. Do you need to be a student? I'm going to answer that in just a second. If there's one thing that I hope everybody takes away, is that when you're applying for a job, when you're applying for an internship, and the company asks why you should be selected, you want to give an answer that benefits the company. And what I mean by that is, like, in the past, when Carson had a bunch of internships, I bet, Carson, in your head, you're like, well, why should I be selected for this internship? Oh, because it'll be awesome to put on my resume. I really like.
You're not going to say I want it only selfishly for myself to develop my own skills, even
Totally.
if that is the case. you also want to say, okay, here's what I bring to the table. Here's what I can help you develop.
Totally. And like that is, it's just a small little tweak, but it is so, so, so big. I had a job once where like if they asked me why was interested in that job, I was interested in that job because it was a really high travel job. I got to fly to London, I got to go to Tokyo, I got to go to Sydney, I got to go to Melbourne, I got to go to Hong Kong. Like I got to travel to all of these really cool places. And that was the reason why I wanted the job. But in the interview, when I was submitting an application for that job, the reason that I shared was because I had experience and I wanted to help them grow in all of those different cities and all of those different countries. And X, Y, and Z, here are the reasons how I could help them. And so even though like the travel was something that I really wanted to do, that wasn't the reason why I shared why I should be selected. And so Hannah, thanks so much for applying to our internship. And I really love, how you shared that you can contribute and help Vyten improve based on your past experiences. Our team's going to be in touch shortly with next steps. All right, we're going to wrap up this session. Carson, you want to share about the Instagram post that we made today?
Yeah. So basically, in the Instagram post today, at the end was going along the theme of I will. So that's like you're setting your goals, what you want to do. At the end, we had a little call to action to comment about what is your goal and what do you think are the first few baby steps to get there. Because I think it's kind of going back to that accountability. If you comment that, you kind of put it out into the universe and you're like, okay, not only do I want to hold myself to it, I said it out loud. So if people ask me about it, I'm going to want to have already taken those steps. And so that will actually make you more likely to do it. So, and as well, like find other people who are in the same situation, have the same goals as you. So check out that post. There's an inspirational quote as well. And comment what your goal is and what are some steps that you plan on taking.
Awesome. Kathy, I didn't forget about your question. No, you don't have to be a student to be able to apply. We have a lot of students who have applied. We've had recent graduates who have applied. We have had folks who have been working full time for the past 5 years, but they want to change careers and they want to get into marketing and to be able to switch out of hospitality into marketing. And so everybody's welcome to apply regardless of your background. So if you want to join our internship program, vyten.com/intern, or there's a link in our Instagram bio as well. All right, we're going to wrap up this session. I hope that you guys see right now, these are challenging times. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. You can build your future. You can take control of your future, your reality. Taking the first step is just one little baby step. It's easier to be able to take a small step towards a big goal. And so just like Carson just mentioned, jump into our Instagram profile. I'm excited to be able to hear about what your goal is, right? So we talked about in this session, V is for vision, Y is for the next year. Don't worry about the next year yet. Like, what's the first step that you can take? And in the post that we just made this morning, post in there what your goal is, whether it's to wake up early, whether it's to stop eating meat, whether it's to get a job in marketing, whether it's to learn how to code. Post in there what your goal is and what you think your small little baby step is. And we saw a bunch of hand waves earlier in the chat for people who wanted to connect with other people and surround yourself with like-minded people who are working on creating a better future for themselves. So I hope you connect with some of those folks. Follow them on Instagram and just set up a time to FaceTime together, get to know each other, share what your goals are, and we'll see you here this time next week. All right, let's go get them.
Bye, everyone.